Hey guys, in this video, I want to go over more of a tactical overview of how I actually gamified my business to make more money. And this is not just a YouTube title, I actually gamified it. And I didn't create this idea, I got it from many inspiration sources. I'll let you know what that is in a bit here. But the main crutch of the problem that I actually gamified and solved was churn. For those of you who don't know what churn is, I'm sure most of you guys know, but it's just the rate that the customer that consumes your product leaves. So if it's a one-time consumable, your business, then churn is not really something of a concern. But for any business that is more like that relies on MRR, monthly recurring revenue, anything that's more subscription based, churn is a never-ending monster that we all have to deal with, right? It's just something that's never gonna be not something we deal with. Whether I ran a marketing agency, that was a problem. Churn was a problem. When I ran a Patreon, churn was a problem. When I ran high-ticket info / community, it was a problem. It's just something that we're never gonna be able to remove, because it's just a feature of subscription-based businesses. It's not something that is a bug, right? It's not something that just happens to your business. It happens to all of us. And you can mitigate this, right? You can never entirely remove it, but you can reduce it as much as you can. Things like onboarding, many other things you can do, but those are more smaller things. In this one, I wanna go over one specific tactic that I used to actually gamify the customer journey of my business, and that actually made me more money because they stayed longer. And you can see this little map here. So this is how just churn will work. You will get an influx of customers coming in, and then they'll go in, and then slowly they'll drop off, and then you might be left with a 10% churn. 10% churn is probably not bad for, depending on your industry, but it's probably not bad, right? 90% churn, obviously that's bad. But one thing that I feel like a lot of people misunderstand with churn is obviously you need good product, because you need to figure out if it's a product issue that's causing the churn or if it's just churn that's causing the churn, if it's just something to do with the model, right? Because if you have bad products, if someone actually gives your product a go, they use it and they don't like it, then they leave, that is a bad product. But if they end up not really using the product, that means churn is an issue, right? Your product is fine. So that it sounds obvious, but sometimes it needs to be said. Because a lot of B2B services, especially what I see with agencies and things like that, is it's like software, right? You need to get to an activation point before the product actually starts to perform, right? Because obviously if someone buys our product and then on day one they get all the results that they ever want, that they ever dreamt of, then obviously churn will never be an issue for you. But that's not how the real world works. You need time for your product to acclimate, for it to actually blossom into, all your customers' dream outcome, right? And I've faced this before where, especially if you're dealing with month-to-month contracts, the churn kills you before you even start. Because on month 1, you sign your customer. On month 2, the customer is losing interest. And then on month 3, they quit. That happens a lot. Usually, they might even quit on month 1. Right here, they'll quit. Really, your product, it takes about 4 months. This is quite typical for marketing agencies. It could take 4 months for you to actually work, the product to actually work. You have to give time. And if you're doing a month-to-month basis, the customers are just not patient enough. And I completely understand it. I've been there before. And, obviously they don't want to pay 4 months until the product works. And it's just a mess, right? So what can you do to reduce the churn so that the customer actually gets to this activation point, so that once they actually see that your product works, they're no longer going to churn, right? There is that point that you get to where the churn drops massively. You see a lot of this in software. That's why this is where the term comes from, activation point. And this is very similar to things like agencies. So how do you fix this? This is the key to all your problems with churn, right? There's a company, I'm sure you've heard of it, Audible. They do things like audiobooks, right? And I don't know if you know this, but Audible has a credit system where every month upon renewal, customers get like tokens that they can attribute to unlock new books or new audiobooks, whatever the case may be. And you can apply this to real world application to reduce churn, right? This is the whole reason Audible does this. They don't just do it for fun. This is the gamifying aspect where customers are almost looking forward to getting new credits, right? And without knowing, subconsciously, they're paying you on the subscription. So I'll show you applying this onto real world circumstances and other business venues. That's not software like Audible, right? So I have a community product that I'm actually working on currently. And how I have it set up is when you join the product, which is pretty much high ticket info community and licensing product, what happens is you unlock a system. It's this one. This is the first one that they unlock. We give them some time, 30 days, 60 days to actually implement the system so that they actually see the results and they give back the credit to us for licensing the system to them. And every month they're gonna unlock a new system. And how this works is they are given credit at the end of the billing for month 1, and they can apply this credit onto any other system that they choose. So we actually don't unlock it for them. They can look, see where the bottlenecks are in their company, and they can apply the credit to wherever they find most relevant. And that's the beauty of it, right? Every month they get credits, they see on the actual section, they see all the systems, and they see the little description, so they know it's almost something that they're anticipating. And once this client acquisition system is proven to work, when they apply it, and another good thing, right, with this system is you don't overwhelm customers. That's another big thing. That's one of the biggest factors of churn, actually, overwhelming. You're like, okay, features, all the features, boom, 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 go, go, go. Customers get overwhelmed. When you give everybody every tool that you have in your arsenal, they're not going to use any. And that's where churn comes in. They never even use your product. So this way, we separate that and we say, hey, use this system, give it 30 days, and they actually implement this. They get good results. And then from there, it's been validated. They've actually used our part of our product and they trust us, and then they start to stay on and they unlock other systems, right? And this 30 days is a good way for them to reduce overwhelm, actually spend the time implementing the system, whatever the case may be. So I've also done this for local businesses when I ran a marketing agency. So we would have something like a roadmap. Now, this is less like a credit system, but it's more like they unlock a new system that we give them at the end of 30 days. So when the billing is due, they will unlock a new system. So we spend the first 30 days actually getting them leads, which is what they wanted. And at the end of the 30 days, on day 31, not 45, on day 31, they'll get a new system, right? And it will happen for about 6 months. Because you don't have to do this forever, every 30 days, forever, just give them something new. You just have to do this until they get to the activation point, which for a marketing agency could be 4 to 6 months, right? So have 4 to 6 new things. Or another thing you can do is it doesn't have to be new, right? It can always be something better. It can just be whatever they're doing, just better or premium or more, right? So if you're generating them leads at the end of 30 days, you can generate them more leads. Doing it this way with the credit system, I've seen this credit system be applied to a lot of community products. So that's a good way. It can be applied to marketing agencies. They just have to see it. Well, that's one big thing, right? So I usually show this on onboarding. So they will see this new system unlock on the actual onboarding call. So they have something to look forward to. They know exactly what they're getting. And same thing with the community product. And what I'm going to have is I'm going to have trailers for every single product or every single section, system that they unlock. So that way, the idea of new is lingering in their head, right? Okay, I'm going to get this. And then they do the acquisition system. They're like, oh my God, that was amazing. Imagine how good the other products are, right? So that way you just gamify it with this credit system that does really well. So I hope that has cleared some things up with churn, and I've given you all my strategies, all my tactics. And it's just not me. It's not just me. Everybody's using these tactics. So just giving you more of a tactical overview. And I hope that makes sense, and I'll see you guys next time.